This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, our intergalactic fuel, and the boost behind this mic. Thanks for supporting our cosmic journey through the universe of sci-fi. Here's a taste of what's ahead. But being the kind of doctor that Dr. McCoy is like, I better you cut me throat or something, because, you know what I'm saying, threatening me not work. As me I say, bro, this not gonna work. Do what I do or don't do what I do. Make up your mind. So, that's not even the half of it. Buckle up. The ride's just getting temporal.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilization, we delve into the hearts of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captured audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on Flix.
Welcome back to the final part of our discussion on Star Trek Season 1. Let's look at the lasting impact this series has had on science fiction and popular culture.
Episode 21. Return of the Archons. So, this episode was quite interesting. For one, because of the fact that we find ourselves on a human colony, right? We're following Sulu and another lieutenant, I think his name O'Neill, right? Both of them seem to be dressed in some old style clothing from, those Puritan times, And then we see some robe hooded figures coming at them with what appears to be these long staff, and they are running from them, like basically I run from them. O'Neill gets hit by one of the staff, them touch him with it, and he's instantly transformed and become like a blank slate. He's no longer, it's very apparent that he's no longer himself, and Sulu soon follows afterwards, right? And he gets beamed aboard the Starship Enterprise. So, we have figure more or less something are going and thing. Now, because Captain Kirk, wanted to find out what was going on, this planet, the people them act normal for most of the time, and then all of a sudden, at a particular instant, they transform into vicious, uncaring monsters, right? And I don't mean like transform in the physical, but like them start act mad, them start act crazy, right? And now Spock, Dr. McCoy, and a sociologist named Lindstrom, them and two other security guards, them end up being up among the landing party, right? And they go and they see person for themselves how crazy this colony is, right? The people them seem kind of repressed, it is like this blank stare where them just saying hi and them being nice for no reason, right? And not it just seems empty. All of that just seems very, very empty. Now there is a festival that is supposed to be happening, right? And they make mention of this red hour, which the landing party was like, red hour? I wonder what's going on and thing. When that red hour strike, then they see firsthand how crazy the people them get. The people them start go mad and do all sort of things. I tell you, the streets are clean, and then all of a sudden you just see people just start going down the street. People are tussle and a fight and punch a fling and all of these things, and you wonder what's going on, right? Now they meet up with this guy, right, who he introduces himself, as somebody that knows about this thing, but he seems to be unaffected even when all of this red hour thing is going on, and the landing party is like, looking at him and thing, and it takes them to a location where they meet up with some others, right? Because they might wait till the apparent this red hour finish, because when the red hour finish, now the thing goes back to normal. People them start misbehave, and yeah. I mean, when them done, them clothes tear up and everything there, so it's just weird what's going on. Now, when the man them in the robe them come around again, they appear again, and they want them to become a part of the quote unquote the body, right? And that's how I realized, boy, it's some kind of technology or something that they're using in order to get them there, right? Now, the question comes up to the landing party that are they Archons, right? Because it was foretold that the Archons will return and they will save them, I guess, And so the ones that are not affected basically would have been there, for that reason, awaiting that time, right? Now, of course, they must say, you need to be a part of the body, the lawgiver them. And Kirk just stand up and say, that nah go on, That nah go on, because me and my landing party, we're not going to be party to this, whatever it is that you are attempting to do, right? We get to find out, say, the leader behind this is called Landru, right? And it is, based on Spock scientific understanding of the situation. It's some kind of mass telepathy that all of the town folks seem to be under, right? So Landru use that to make the townsfolk them start to come after the landing party to try and capture them so that them can be a part of the body, right? Now, a couple persons and get attacked and thing, and one of the lieutenants them O'Neill go missing, right? The guy that's with them, who is from that planet, Riga, him a warn them about not trying to, take him because them find him, but the state to him, he's a part of the body, and so you can't really trust him because he's no longer himself, right? So Riga say, yo, leave him because it don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? Now, they are following up on what they believe is a source of immense power that's radiating near to where the location is. Now, Riga tell them, say, oh, when them first arrived, the Archons, many were killed, right? And many of them were absorbed. Kind of sound like the Borg, not true? I want to reach this yet, okay? We're still in season 1, right? We don't reach the Borg yet. All right, so of course, communications have to get poor, and them can't, communicate with the Enterprise in orbit, right? They get contacted by Landru, right? Who appears as a hologram, right? And when they try to contact the Enterprise, and learn, say, there are some heat beams where focus upon the ship. Yeah. So them have to put up them shields and I try to deflect them as much as possible. But of course, that is taking up a lot of the ship's power. So they can't do that indefinitely. Right? And as I mentioned, the communication poor, so them now get a daily digest, a hourly digest, I should say, of what is going on. And them get to find out, so the ship are gonna get destroyed in less than 12 hours, so them have to act fast. So, of course, in them trying to contact the ship and stuff and boosting their signal, they get found by Landru, right? Who, employs some sonic device that renders a team stunned, basically. They are taken to this place to look like one cave cell and thing, and each one in turn is being taken, each man is being taken out of the cell, and when they return to be a part of the body. They become a part of the body, and then they use some technique for get them a part of the body. I'll get there. Now, them take Kirk now, right? Captain Kirk and thing. And when Kirk reach, right, one man named Malplan, him supposed to be the one for induct Captain Kirk, into the body. Him tell him say he is the other man, because there are about 3 of them that were supposed to be. It was Riga, Marplan, right? And one other guy. The other guy they not find that guy that they took care of that guy from earlier on, right? As I mentioned. So this was the 3rd man, Marplan. So he's a part of the resistance essentially, and this man is basically telling Captain Kirk say him not gonna use the thing upon him for make him a part of the body. What him can do for help and all of these things. And so Kirk I said, boy, we need some things and things. And I say, all right, we can't do that right now. And Kirk I try to get him to tell him more about Landru and stuff, and he said, no, we can't talk here, so because Landru might hear, and thing. Him have that fear, a similar kind of fear, to the way how people operate and thing. But yeah, them summon now Spock, right? And Spock goes in and Spock comes out, when Spock comes out, Spock is, so everybody pretend, say, they mindlessly happy and, yeah, and they are all in praise to Landru now, right? To the body, I should say. So in doing their little, consultations with one another, trying to keep it low key, because McCoy was converted and one other man was converted, and they're all in the same cell. They might try to kind of, think of a plan, think of what could be happening so that they can find a way to fix the issue, because they don't have much time, right? So apparently, of course, McCoy being converted into thing, is suspicious, because everybody else behaved weird, Kirk and Spock, they might behave very, very weird, because them not behave like they're a part of the body, right? And so there's a point where, basically him sound the alarm, basically, and Kirk and Spock, they must quickly think and act, because of course now the good thing is that Marplan came in before all of this happened and gave them back some of their tools, them phasers and communicators and thing. So they're able to use that now to overpower the guards, them and stuff and thing. Now Marplan takes Kirk and Spock to where he says this is where them get the audience with Landru, you know what I'm saying? At first, he never wanted to take them because he was very afraid of going in there, you know what I'm saying? And, the Hall of Audiences, that's the place, right? And when they go in there, again, they see the hologram of Landru, right? And them not talk to it and not, it not give them any response, it's not like it's a conversation it's happening. It's basically like demanding them, in certain ways, right? So of course, Spock, said, Captain, yeah, this is definitely not a human behavior. That's not human behavior. This seems like some machine, some computer, something behind it. So the projection was projected on a particular wall in the room, and they blast through that wall. And when they blast through the wall, of course, there it is, an ancient computer. 6,000 years. So the original man, Landru, who programmed the system, him set it a certain way, right? And if you know anything about computers, you program it somewhere, but you see, if you don't have periodic updates and bug fixes, what's gonna happen? It going to break down, it going to cause issues. Now, with this particular computer, his computer went off on a different tangent and started to do things, it really believed in what it was doing because it was programmed that way to believe that it's Landru and to believe that it is doing things for the betterment of humanity, right? However, Kirk and Spock attempt to convince it, you know what I'm saying, to deprogram the program computer, right? So, they're there and it that try to make sense of what is being is being said to it, and they ask it some difficult questions, for try and override it programming. And that ultimately convince the computer that it is evil, right? And it must destroy itself. And so it destroys itself, it explodes and ceases to function. And this basically releases everyone who was under this control of telepathy and, whatever and thing. So, of course, my plan look upon Kirk and be like, what will we do now? It's almost like a what will we do now thing. So they leave some specialists with them to help them to rebuild them society to understand what they need to do, put certain things together, which is always a good thing, right? You go into a thing and you mash up people them system because you feel say it not work for them. You need to replace it with something, right? I mean, I talk to certain people right there. So as a man say, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So yeah, you're not just going at people things and then you say, all right, we left them by themselves to go figure it out. No, you just went in there, you did some damage, even if it was on the best of missions, mercy mission where you want to do. You have to have a plan that you can help the people then for pick up the pieces. Because if you're not there if you help them pick up the pieces, anarchy will take over. Episode 22, Space Seed. When we meet Khan, which is a Superman who was genetically modified from the 20th century, he attempts to take the Enterprise with the help of other Supermen like himself, right? So they would have been genetically modified, to be smarter, stronger, faster, whatever it is, right? And there was a war, right? So I'm just kind of giving you the backstory for them, and then I can get into the rest of the episode. So they basically had their ship, fly out into space, and they went into hypersleep, and now the Enterprise find the ship, find that it's have this kind of derelict look and thing, from that time and stuff, and so they go in thinking that it's a normal rescue mission, and they take Khan out of hypersleep. Mind you, it wasn't easy because they had little complications and they could have lost him, but they did successfully. So the hull markings say the SS Botany Bay, right? And for persons who might be familiar with the Star Trek universe already or might have watched the movie about, Khan, yeah? Yeah, man. The CM Khan we are talking about, right? Not the Khan we eat, right? Because Khan, you know what I'm saying? All right. So, yeah, the they resurrect him, take him out of hypersleep, because, it's almost like he dead, but, suspended animation, I should say. I should be very clear about what that is, right? Right. So it basically is a way for us keep the body in a state of being neither dead nor alive, right? So it slows heart rate, slows the body functions down to a point where it's not really, normal, and at the same time keep the individual alive. Now this is kind of different from cryo sleep and them thing, because them basically put in a ice and them still a monitor your vitals at a certain level. But from what I understand, suspended animation has to do with keeping the body, totally in that undead stage without the cryo part of it. Yeah. So of course there is a expert on historical stuff, McGivers, who she basically forms an attachment to Khan because, when it's something where you study, right, like a history or whatever it is, you've become infatuated and obsessed over certain things sometimes, So, as this man being from those ages that she loves to study, right, she becomes very much, interested in him. And all when him a do all sort of stuff, all of the non-woke stuff that him a do. I won't even have to repeat it on this podcast, right? Go and watch the series if you want. Tell you which episode to watch already. So he's not like, the normal 30th century man, right? Sorry, not 30th century. But yeah, you get my point. It's like this man, he is out of time, right? When they revive him on the ship and stuff, the first thing him do is have the Dr. McCoy Bones in a chokehold, right? And ready for cut him throat and thing, right? Because him want some answers. But being the kind of doctor that Dr. McCoy is like, I better you cut me throat or something, because, you know what I'm saying, threatening me not work. As me I say, bro, this not gonna work. Do what I do or don't do what I do. Make up your mind. So he realized, say, yo, him can't threaten Bones them way there, see me? So anyways, he proceeds to tell him what is going on and thing, and him tell him, say, he want to talk to, can't tell him, say, he want to talk to the captain. Right? So when the captain come in and thing, he might have that same assertive attitude with the captain, but of course, when you meet somebody new and you don't even know what they're about, you know what I'm saying? You try to give them some understanding, and worse, them not have much information in their historical documents about this particular man, right? But they know of the century and they kind of surmise certain things, about the person already. So them extend him the full welcome mat. He's able to walk about the ship as how him want. Him can check their data banks for information and thing, which he does, and him search up everything we have to do the Enterprise, because his thing is that he wants to take control of the Enterprise, and we learn that through him and McGivers, because when McGivers come in, she does stunned with him. She not even she can't move. Me no know I'm to her. She'll go out with things, bro. Right? She make Candace a walk over her. Right? That, can basically I say, yo, either with me or you against me. You see me I say make her know. Right? She got to she got to him room, cause him get a room in the Enterprise now, can recover and well and thing. And him basically I say, listen to me, you better be with me or against me. Him hold her hand, and twist, and him I say, you decide where you want. You know what I'm saying? And she basically just kowtow to it. She just say, yes, yes, yes. So, as I said, the captain ruled out the welcome mat. So, them invite him for dinner, right? So, at dinner, you know what I'm saying? People usually have polite conversations. No, that's not Khan's style. Khan is like, yo, and like him a joust with the captain. Him just, and the captain and say, we're just having a conversation. We're just having dinner. You know what I'm saying? And thing. And he must say, not, it's like he must say, don't all conversations have some element of that kind of debate, kind of, assertiveness thing to it? And, it kind of does make the captain of it just have, if you watch him even more. Of course, captain will have to know more about him because he's been getting some information and he can't complete it and can't give him the direct answers them about who he is, right? In those kind of just put it off and thing. Now, later on, because McGivers, as I mentioned, she's very fascinated with historical stuff. So in her little room where she has different paintings and various depictions that she would have done. Can't go in her room and I fiddle around her room and him find one depiction where she have of him, right? And so we know say, boy, she's cooked, she's done, as they call it. The young people them can tell me if I use the word there the right way. You know what I'm saying? So you see me I say the can declare it, say, boy, we offer the world order, right? And things. So you see me I say, if they never want it, that is up to them, right? When time him tired of Kirk question him tell him say, but fatigued, right? And in return to in quarters, right? Now the captain post a guard, guard on the door and thing, cause why then, they get to figure out more about him now and realize say, hey, this young man is dangerous, You can't just left him one day place. Right? McGivers confess how she know exactly who he is, right? And that him now really like living in a century. And that is when she basically pledge herself to him. Cause him reveal the plot now, say, I plan to take over the Enterprise. So, you with me or you're not with me? Because if you're not with me, leave now. And of course, she says she's with him. So, again, Kirk and Spock and McCoy and, they look at the historical records them, to figure out more about Khan Nupin Singh, right? And they, realize, say, one of the genetically engineered tyrants them from the eugenic wars, right? And he was the last one to be overthrown. That's how bad him did bad. Yeah. So while all of this are going on and thing and can't find him way out of, him room, knock out in guard, make his way onto the ship, because them have the ship in tow, right? So him go on the USS Button Bay and he revive everyone of theme man them, all the supermen and women, right? So now Khan returns to the ship, of course, takes over, forces everybody on the bridge to basically surrender by suffocating them, right? Because they never want to let up. Him threaten them, say, oh, you can join me or suffocate. And they decided to suffocate, right? And him, revive them and him put the captain in a one decompression chamber, right? And incrementally I take time to turn up the thing on them if the bridge crew don't join him, because him need people who actually know how to work the systems them on the ship, right? So he make sure say him try and coerce them into doing this, right? Of course, the plan is, because he want them to think there, him kill the captain first. That's his plan, and then he will move on to each one in turn, until him get what him want. Right? Nobody na quiver, nobody na waver, right? The lady McGivers, she has a change of heart, right? She uses the way how she's able to move freely, to go and rescue the captain, right? Just in time for them bringing in Spock, because they must say, boy, captain must be dead now, right? I'm go dead now, and so I bring in Spock now, and he's going to be the next one to go into the chamber if nobody don't step up, right? So she help him free, Spock, and them take back over everything, While Khan they in the briefing room and realize say something not go on, in him run off now, right? Jump go in engineering because him understand the ship and thing, him did study up on it. So him go down engineering and him rig the ship to overload. So by the time the captain for reach down there for try and stop him, he essentially, two of them brawl off and fight. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the captain, he can't manage Khan. Khan is a Superman, right? He's genetically modified. He might, pummel him. Eventually, he's able to knock out Khan with one club. You know what I'm saying? He take one piece of pipe and lick it with it. And, make sure say him stay down, he knock it with it couple times good, right? So now, later on now, they have one formal hearing, right? And surprisingly, after all of that, the captain drops all of the charges against Khan, right? And them people, right? Because he must say it would have been a waste to put them into a penal colony, right? What he does offer them is that him offer them one anti world called SETI Alpha 5. And I'm saying it that way because this comes full circle to the movie. So, hello, this is where it starts. This is where the events start. So, Khan, of course, accepts because, he's, that kind of man where say, boy, I take on a challenge, but can tame that world, what I'm saying? And him even asks McGivers if she wants to come with him, right? And thing, or accept court martial, because that's the only other option, right? So, she accepts, and him tell her, say, listen, it gonna be difficult to survive, to find food. You know what I'm saying? But like him want to say it have fun and thing or whatever. So the plan for them now, the crew is to return to SETI Alpha 5 in perhaps 100 years to learn what sprung from that seed that they planted, what crop sprung, and perhaps earlier than that. Episode 23, A Taste of Armageddon. So the crew of the Enterprise have been destroyed in a computerized war that's been waged for over 500 years to keep the peace. So, from what I said just a while ago, this is not one of those regular episodes, right? This is one of those episodes that makes you think about how humanity looks at war and violence against one side or the next. Right? So the Enterprise is dispatched on a diplomatic mission, right? Matter of fact, they have a diplomat on board that, he might behave like him run things, and they must listen to him and Ray, and the captain so and so and Ray, you must, and you might use all of them terms there, So they are going to the planet to establish and open diplomatic relations, right? With the civilization there, right? Now, apparently they were invited, right? That is the thing, that they were invited. And I'm saying this because, Kirk get an order from Ambassador Fox, right? That this is a diplomatic mission and we're not going to behave no other way, right? So that's Kirk, Spock, Yeoman Tamura, and 2 other security officers, right? Then beam down, right? And then get met by Mia 3, right? At the division of control. Now, them have a union called the Imian Union, right? Who they are a part of. So it's almost like their high council, right? So then go to the high council, go meet the leader named Anan 7, right? So you start forget some cues here now. From the people that have number in them name, you have to wonder why them have number in their name, right? So, Captain Kirk had tell them, say, hey, listen, we here on a diplomatic mission, we want to, seek out new life and new civilization so that we can, and able to spread out all of that on a platter. And then 7 say, hey, no. We can't take that up, right? Because right now, we are in war with the 3rd planet of the system, Vendekar, right? And him explain 500 years and thing and whatever. So while them they attack, them get, called to basically this battle footing, right? Where they are using computers to assess things there, because when the Enterprise came there, when they decided to even open up diplomatic relations with this planet, they noted that the planet looks peaceful and habitable, and there was no violence, no sign of violence on it at all. And they didn't recognize that this planet is one of those advanced planets, advanced in tech and all of those things, So, they could benefit, right? So now when them here say they are at war for 500 years, plus them a fight some war using computers, and you know what I'm saying, and them a talk about how much casualties them just get and thing, and how many victims got, one bomb get dropped in the middle of a city a while ago, and how many people were in the casualties, and how many deaths have been recorded. They're like, huh? So Kirk turns to Spock and him say, check on thing, and my look and thing, and I realize, say, yo, no man, nothing like that not happen. Them call up to the Enterprise, and Enterprise say, we don't see anything go on ground. What go on and thing. And then Anan tells Kirk, say, when the Enterprise entered orbit, it became a legitimate target, and it has been destroyed by a satellite explosion. So, like the victims on the surface, right? The previous victims, they should report to the surface, because they have 24 hours for disintegration. Because their thing is that the computer say you're dead, that means say your death must be recorded. And how your death going to record? If you walk into a disintegrator. Madness. Pure madness, may I tell you, listener. So, this is why I said this episode is crazy, right? And it makes you think about how war is perceived, right? And how, even though our computers, them money, I say them I use the both side, May I talk about the other planet, I use the same thing, same tactics, them I say, boy, for them people, So this has been their whole thing. It's almost like them have an agreement to fight, but they fight using computerized war, computerized simulations, and all of these things. And for the casualties to really matter, right? For them to understand the realness of it, then people have to legitimately say, all right, now that I am dead, let me go and be disintegrated. I just have to pause right there. So because, it's just crazy just talking it out for myself. Right? This is why I do this podcast anyway, because, we tease out these little things, right? That science fiction is communicating to us. So even me herself, right? The lady where initially take them to Anan 7, she was like, I'm also a casualty, right? And she defend the system, right? And she insists, say, boy, she values her life, even though Kirk said, boy, you don't value your life, because you just walk in a disintegrator. And it's like, no, I value my life, but me know say system have to work and thing, and she defend the thing. And if they don't do it like that, basically they will violate that understanding, that agreement, and then the car will be forced to launch real weapons, and that will have real effects, much more damaging, because they must say they have weapons that are so powerful that it could just in one fell swoop, one move, one chess move from the board, and everything done. So that is why they do it this way in the computerized thing for kind of us. It's almost like, yeah, well, let's just keep up this thing so that we don't escalate. So the captain is basically taken, right? Because they must say, yo, we don't want you communicate with the people to tell them not to do this and thing. So them use one voice duplicator with some just like Kirk voice to communicate with the crew to tell them to report to the surface, under the guise of that, right? And it's Scotty who is in command of the Enterprise. Of course, when him listen it, him suspicious because him wonder why the captain would have say all the crew of the Enterprise. You know what I'm saying? Not leaving not one single one on the Enterprise, right? And that them going to them should allow the people them the people them on the planet for beam up for take their positions. So obviously me that be suspicious too. That very suspicious. So Scotty him run the voice message through the communicator and he realized say, yeah, indeed, some are off with that voice. That don't sound like the captain. That's not him at all. Right? And probably they might try to use something, right? So while Spock and the captain and the rest of guys on the surface, in their confinement, Spock for the first time uses his telepathy, right? For plant a suggestion in the jailer's mind, right? Through the wall, right? So it make him think that the prisoners have already escaped, and him open the door and then quickly them overpower him, right? So of course Scott move very, very cautious, right? With all the situation are going and thing, right? Him keep him thing up and stuff and whatever. Him run off the chair, the captain's chair really well, right? In the captain's absence and thing. Of course, the ambassador come and ask him why so and so, why them have that kind of posture and them supposed to be diplomatic and rare, and he must listen to him now because he's in charge, and if him don't listen to him, he might go write him up with a letter of reprimand and make sure say he get a court martial and everything and rare. Scotty's like, yeah, you can do all of that, but me nah change what I do right now because I believe what I'm doing is right. So him prepare now for beam down, him call down to the planet and them say, oh, ambassador, come down, man. Him no know say he has been a casualty, and so they want him to come down. So he end up go down that way. As he go down, so, right, them take him into captivity and they are carry him to the disintegrator. Now, of course, because the captain and Spock and the rest of the guys them was able to get out. They go and they to one of the disintegrator and they, can I say disintegrate the disintegrator? No. Them damage the disintegrator. They can never disintegrate. And they damage it, make sure say it can't function, right? They watched as persons walked in and were disintegrated, but afterwards them take it out, right? Now, and I know him going to him office now and thing, and I have a drink of one of them then drink, and Kirk confront him, right? And demand that him speak with him ship because him want, to change the outcome of these things. Now, and I'm more interested in us saving him world. So he refuse to yield, right? He want to trick the captain because the captain asked him where the communicators can be found, and him tell him say for go there so one thing, and he's like, me nah just walk go out there. Right? You go out there first. I would they go out there first because man they are way upon the captain and thing. And then, subdue him and and thing. Right? As I mentioned before, Ambassador Fox him, come down and them just escort him promptly to the disintegration station. Luckily, Spock learned that him goes beam down and them rescue him just in time. Right? And he was so glad and that he even admit to him that why he never realized how dangerous the situation was, right? So because they have Kirk and thing, they realize that boy, them are far behind the quota, with the the violence we perpetrate and whatever, so this might be violating their treaty. So and this might cause to tensions rising and cause all out real war to occur, right? So them try to contact the Enterprise, right? To convince them to come down and thing. And Kirk used the opportunity to yell to Scotty say he must implement General Order 24 in 2 hours before him, them then get to restrain him. Which means that boy, in 2 hours, the Enterprise will destroy the planet, right? The entire planet, if them don't hear from him. Now, and then they are trying to plead to the captain, say, listen, we need to find a way for this de-escalate the situation, right? But Kirk count on the escalation, right? It's a gamble, it's a big gamble, but he count on it. So, of course, in keeping with the order that was issued, Scott come and, inform Anan, say, boy, we have these cities and we have these installations, all of them in a way target range. You know what I'm saying? And so they will destroy everything in that path. So, of course, they realize that boy Kirk determined, You know what I'm saying? Because when they determined, right? Him decide to make Kirk know whisper him can get the stuff them and thing, and he can communicate freely with the Enterprise and thing. So he use the opportunity now to wage war against Vendikar. Can you believe it? Yeah. So real war now, because what they do is that they had a system that was set up, right, with a computer to record the deaths them and things. So then destroy that. So if no more deaths now record and thing and war a rage, it means say that's a violation of the treaty. And so is either one of two things. Is either they're going to go into a full scale war for real, right, after 500 years, or they're going to both come together and figure out a way to make peace instead. What an ultimatum, not true? And Kirk is able to do that within what? Within a day. And some people take so long to make peace reign. Hey. So And then remember one communication link we they have with Vendacar, and it's still in existence. It hasn't been used in centuries, right? Direct link where they can talk to, the like one high council to the next. Yeah, they can talk. So they left them with a representative, a diplomat, to help them to mediate, right? Ambassador Fox, you know what I'm saying? If we are going to mediate, right? Between that. It's not what he's expected to do, but he end up do something, right? So then later on now in the Enterprise, Uhura share reports that there's peace talks and things looks hopeful, you know what I'm saying? It's all up to them now. Of course, everybody has said, boy, at this point, oh, Kirk really know how to gamble because suppose it never work out the way I expect, right? I never work out the way I expect. It would have plunged two worlds into war. Or his crew, right? His ship would have been responsible for taking out the lives of millions. So sometime you might have to take some risks, especially when the upside is for something better, for peace. You know what I'm saying? Because the alternative is quite terrible. Episode 24, This Side of Paradise. Spock, the Vulcan, shows affection for the first time when he gets infected by spores on a colony that should have no life. Yeah, so the Enterprise crew, they go on a rescue mission, right? There is this colony that is on the planet of Omicron Ceti 3, and it was established at a time when we never really much know about the birth hole rays, right? Which would have been bombarding that planet, right? So when them go, right? When the colonists left Earth, they never know, right? So when the Enterprise arrives there, right? Captain Kirk, Commander Spock, Dr. McCoy, Lieutenant Sulu, the Sale, right? And Kelowitz, them beam down, right, to the planet's surface. And to their surprise, Sandoval, who is the leader of the colonists, is alive. And the other colonists are also alive. So them not dead. So them I wonder, because although I mentioned rescue mission is more like them going to recover, because them feel like probably they would have died long ago because of what was happening to the planet, and thing. So, of course, when Sandoval and the other colonists them see them excited to see them and thing, and them have this very blank smile. And if you have heard me mention a blank smile before, it's not something good, right? A blank stare. Well, this is a blank smile, a smile that doesn't have anything else behind it. It's just, it's a blissful smile, right? And it doesn't convey any real happiness behind it, right? Or does it? So Sandovala explained how them subspace radio mash up, and so that's why them wasn't able to contact anybody back on Earth to make them know and thing, and them never have anybody who was able to repair it. So now them have somebody who can come there and help them out and thing and and of course everybody's surprised because they want to figure out what is going on. What is, how is it that they are alive? Now, while they are there checking out the colony and thing, right? Them notice say there's an unusual absence of any animal, flora or fauna, right? Life on the planet, on the colony. So they would have took those animals and thing with them, right? The colonists initially would have took the cows and pigs and horses and dogs, because say if you go you're going to build a colony. You're going to need all of the little agricultural needs. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to make sure you carry them there with you. So them notice that none of that not there. But they have barn, right? And them have spaces that should have, you know what I'm saying? Should have these things in there, you know, cows and pigs and goats and so on, right? Now, Sandoval and Layla, them there by themselves. After them inquire, them have Dr. McCoy test everybody, you know, and thing. Layla, who seems to have some kind of history with Spock, right? She tell Sandoval, because Sandoval say, you know, oh, we're gonna make them stay and thing, and she say she gonna get Spock for stay. You know, because you know Spock, he's being very logical and, you know, things where, you know, not necessarily make sense, he might go try and make sense of, right? He might try to figure out something about it. So McCoy is astounded by the fact that every single inhabitant, them not suffer from no radiation, them not suffer from anything at all. They have perfect physical health, right? It even stretches farther than that, because it gets to the point where they have like scar tissue from health problems that they would have had before. You know what I'm saying? Based on them, you know, medical records and stuff. So of course, this is very good in that, you know, hey, you know, they are in perfect health. So, you know, what's possibly wrong with this now, right? So of course, Kirk did upon orders, you know. So him tell Sandoval, say, listen, Starfleet say that we need to come and remove them from the planet, because, you know what I'm saying? Thing there. And he might try convince Sandoval, because Sandoval said, boy, me not see no reason why me need to leave. Right? It's not necessary. It's entirely unnecessary. Those are the words he used. Even McCoy remind him, say, listen, there are deadly birth hole rays that are bombarding the planet as we speak, right? And things. So, you know, but of course, Sandoval tell the doctor, say, listen, everybody in a good health. Now that they just say, so, you know what I'm saying? What happened? You know what I'm saying? Of course, Kirk question them about the lack of animals them around, you know, all of the animals them where them should have, you know, which would have died and stuff. Now, Layla, as I said, she have a little thing for Spock. So she takes Spock on a journey out into the field and thing to this flowering plant, right? And she said she was the first to find them. And just as Spock is to investigate, he's blasted with some spores, right? And them spores that cause Spock for getting to some, you know, it's like him in a pain initially. And then all of a sudden the pain just gone. And him emotional barriers them, all of the things that make him Vulcan just break down. And him just seem like a normal person. So till him just all in drop it tricorder when use, you know, for conduct him the experiments and investigate with stuff, right? And because as a Vulcan, you know, really react to physical pain. If you're in a physical pain, nobody now gonna know, you know, because you have to get trained, right? So you grow. But, you know, he is reacting to physical pain for the first time, right? And him confess him love for Layla, right? And she just, you know, basically say, boy, you're one of us now. So the two of them, they get to know one another, right? And the captain will look around and try to figure out certain things, you know. So him in second in command, you know what I'm saying? Him yell Spock. And Spock now answer the communicator You know what I'm saying? Him a heal him and he nah get him. Right? And him know say usually Spock would have just answer, immediately, yes, Captain, and you know what I'm saying, reporting or whatever. Nothing like that. Even McCoy and I say, boy, Spock behavior seem very weird. You know what I'm saying? Then again, he's a Vulcan. He's weird generally. You know what I'm saying? So when them find Spock find take up the communicator, right? Because Layla is like, you know, answer it, man. And he answer it. And him answer Kirk with Jim. Because, Jim is his nickname, right? And he has been trying to get people to call him that, right? And, you know what I'm saying? Spock, who has never called him Jim, has always called him Captain. Even in a certain circumstance, he still call him Captain. At this circumstance, I call him Jim. So I'm like, something about this making different. Of course, Spock drop the communicator and then him just turn back him attention to Layla, right? Concerns Kirk now him try and open the comm link, right? Which is a way for basically track down Spock's location. So him find say Spock not they too far. Right, him come up on Spock, a laugh and a clown around, a hang from a tree. Something where Spock, really would never do. Right? So, of course, the mom say, listen, Spock, may I forgot place you under arrest because something obviously wrong with you. Spock say, no, me not go allow you to do that. May I carry you go somewhere, right? So Kirk and a few of him officers them follow him, right? And them end up stopping in front of one of the spore plant them. And of course, immediately the spores them blast Sulu and Kelowitz, right? Kirk never get hit because he was a little bit behind them. So, he have a good distance on the other two. So the other two got it directly, right? And so them start to exhibit the same euphoric behavior of going very, very smiley and happy and, don't have no other care in the world right now. Now, even McCoy end up being infected, right? And as soon as he get infected, him start to beam the plants them aboard the Enterprise. So say, everybody upon the Enterprise, get infected, Yeah, man, because as soon as it reach there, the ventilation system does take the spores where they need to go. So everybody start beam down to the planet because everybody, in a paradise now, them feel nice. So when Captain Kirk, him end up go up there now and thing and realize everybody just a beam off and I go to the planet. And he's like, what? And he might even not try to get Lieutenant Uhura to contact Admiral at the Starfleet, the one we send him down there. And she's like, no, me not do that. As a matter of fact, me disable it, right? And she just leave the bridge and beam back down. And he's like, what? He load. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, what a captain going to do without his crew? You know what I'm saying? So, of course, the captain did it by himself a thing and, he can't communicate with Starfleet and he can't move without them. You know what I'm saying? He can't handle all of the system them by himself. He can't fly the ship away or nothing like that. So, he must figure out a way to get back in crew. Of course, he's very frustrated. So, him throw one of the plant them, at the helm console, right? And him just left out of the bridge. Now, he reach the transporter room now and him, he must see the rest of them are beamed down to the surface and thing and, he must try to convince them that, they can't be doing this and thing, a mutiny. And them say, yes, I'm mutiny, we know. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, we know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Kirk, go back to your planet now and him find McCoy, right? You know, him find Spock and Sandoval and thing, and realize, say, you know what I'm saying, everybody I do what them I do themselves, enjoying, you know, themselves and thing, you know, who are make mint jewel up and, you know, who are relaxing at the sun, easy back and thing and whatever, you know. So Kirk, you know, he might try to get something out of Spock. Even though Spock under the influence of the spores, he might explain that the plants them travel through space until them landed on the planet, right? And them actually thrive in that environment because of the birth role rays. So, you know, once them find a human host, they basically give you perfect health, right? And give you that peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? You might have comments say, boy, it's a true Eden, Jim. When Kirk hear that, you know, of course, if disagree, you know what I'm saying? Say, boy, yo, humans now was meant for us to live so, you know what I'm saying? And thing. And, you know, the fact that the colonists, they have been there for so long on that planet, and they were meant to advance the civilization and, you know, do something, right? Advance themselves. And they have not. Them basically have just been surviving, just been living day to day. And there hasn't been any advancement, nothing, you know, nothing to aspire for. Yeah. So it's not that them saying they're against, you know, living in paradise, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to just have that. You want to be able to aspire to things, you know? You just are gonna stuck in the same position. No motivation, no nothing. So of course, Kirk returned to the Enterprise and it make him captain's log. You know, if you say, boy, I'm one day and thing and him can't manage the pilot or alone and, you know, how him go counteract the effects of the spores, right? Depend the bridge him dead and thing and, you know, I just some at the stations them depend automatic that you can really hear and thing. Man, make for call for Scotty in a engineering. Him not receive no answer. Most of the ship deserted and thing. So him lost in a thought now, and because of that now, he gets overtaken by a dose of the spores them, right? Who blast him because him then near one of the plants them by mistake. So of course he becomes as mindlessly happy as the others and start to, you know, tell them, say, listen, I go come down and things and he'll Spock and thing and let them know, say, I go join them because he's one of them now. And of course, if him beam off, then nobody will be able to return to the Enterprise, and the Enterprise will just probably burn up in orbit or something, right? Because nobody know that if he do nothing with the Enterprise, right? So him start go through some stuff in him quarters, kind of say, you know, me need to carry down some things, you know, some little things I want to carry down with myself, you know, and going around and see him Starfleet medal them, and then him get frustrated in him face, you know, that him never want to carry the medal with him, and close the box and put it back in the vase and thing, and leave for the transporter room. Right? Him put a suitcase on the transporter pad, right? And ready now if you go beam down to the planet. And then, out of nowhere, I mean, I say, I don't know what happened to him now. Out of nowhere, him become angry, right? And him get free, reconcile with himself now, right? Say, boy, listen, I can't leave the Enterprise, right? slam down him hand pan the transporter console and thing. And it must have been at that point that the spores them just leave him, cause just him stop have that euphoric look on him face, and him look more convicted, him look more in control of himself. So it's like him realize now, say, the way to free him crew is to have a high enough emotional response, like anger, to get them out of it. But of course, how am I gonna do that? Right? Of course, because Spock is very, 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 very strong. It say if I go get Spock angry, how is he gonna get Spock angry, right? Enough to free him. So of course, Kirk continue to play the part of being one of spore under the influence of a spore, and him call for Spock and thing. And tell him say, why Spock, me need help with moving something off of the ship and thing. Of course, Spock nah think twice, cause right now him brain nah think really. Him just feel. So, you know, he agrees, and him tell Layla say, me soon come back, basically. So when he reach the ship now, the captain greet him with a metal pipe, and him call him sort of name, mutinous, disloyal, computerized, half-breed. Now Spock, you know, I think say the captain a joke, you know, but the captain continue to let out with insult after insult how Spock parents and the entire Vulcan race, and you know, Spock now start to say to him, say, you need to stop. You need to stop. But of course, you know, Kirk realized it and get on nice skin, so he ma turn up the heat a little bit more upon him. Right? Him start talk about Layla and how Spock, you know, no love her and thing. No way he could have love her. And that him is a freak who belongs in a circus. Right? And it is at this point that Spock finally snap out of it. Right? And attack Kirk. Right? Threw him around the transporter room like a rag doll, you know? Right? Then when him ready now for go smash a small metal table over Kirk head now, him regain control of himself. Cause the spores them leave him. So now he and Kirk him, you know, create one subsonic transmitter, right? Because them definitely come to an agreement, say boy, them can do it one. You know what I'm saying? Them have to do it, you know, on the planet where it's safer, because you don't know how other people are gonna react when they're angry. Yeah, so then use that technique for get the spores them out of the rest of the crew. Of course, everybody that battle bruise one another, you know, may I tell you. Be things that go on on the ground, you know, but the colony. You know what I'm saying? So of course now when Layla is beamed aboard the ship and she find out what happened to Spock, she has say, oh, she can't lose him again. Spock confessed to her, say, listen, me really have a responsibility to the ship, right? And to my friend, the captain. And him I tell her, I say, boy, you know, him can't live like that and thing and re. So little after they activate the transmitter and everybody start power and thing, and you know, people start come back and stuff. Sandoval contact the Enterprise telling him, say, boy, we're ready for go home. You see me? We're ready for left. Yeah, cause we did want to go leave long time, you know, but the spores them, you know. Yeah, and them end with the nice little banter where they usually have between Spock and Kirk, you know. Episode 25, The Devil in the Dark. Miners on a colony encounter a creature that is the last of its kind that kills out of necessity. So on Janos 6, one minor, and they are try to replace one other one with the, at the guard post and thing. Of course, he is very extremely nervous about this guard detail, and in chief reassure him, and I'll tell him, say, just make sure say you have your phaser on you at all times, Yeah, man. So after the chief and the other guard they move out and thing, them hear one very harrowing scream, right? The Wilhelm scream, right? And when them return, them find, say, him reduced to a pile of ashes. Yeah. Now, 2 days later, now the USS Enterprise, them reach Janos 6, sorry, and them respond to this distress call, right? Because for the past 3 months, this unknown creature has been terrorizing the mining colony, and it killed about 50 odd people and things. So Captain Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, them go in to analyze the situation, right, with Chief Vandenberg, right? So while them there have the conversation and thing, them get interrupted by an alarm from the colony nuclear reactor, right? The creature has killed the guards outside and it burned its way in, taking the reactor's main pump, circulating pump, right? And of course, without this, the reactor will go supercritical and eradicate half of the planet. Scotty, him now report from the Enterprise and him tell them, say, him can rig up one replacement with some odds and ends, and it might last for 48 hours, So Kirk asked him to just come in and see what him can do and thing, so that him can get the original pump. One of the security guard, him get killed by the creature, right? But Kirk and Spock upon the scene, so them arrive and thing, and them see the creature, which, it's hard to explain. It's a more amorphous, blobby kind of creature, and it seems to be, dangerous, made out of some kind of rock acid. That's what Spock theory, that, there's some kind of silicon-based life form, And so, them a say, boy, the fact say it kill them have to kill it, right? So that's what them come to. So them start searching at teams now, right? And them a look on where them see the creature and all of that and thing. Spock give order for surround it and possibly capture it, but the captain countermand him and say the goal is to shoot to kill, because this thing seems to be killing the people and thing, can't allow it for just a kill people and thing, and yeah. Spock, of course, him counter with some logic, and thing, and that, yeah, this creature, we don't know much about it and thing, we need to figure out what's, what it is about, Eventually, Kirk and Spock, them have to separate. Kirk find one chamber with 100 of the silicon spheres. Spock want him not to damage them because they possibly have a theory on what they are, Then all of a sudden, one roof collapsed near where Kirk there, right? Luckily, it never collapsed upon him, right? The only way out now is to continue forward now, and so he may encounter the creature. Now Kirk, notice say the way the creature move, it move like it have little intelligence, like it's sentient in some way. Because every time him, in raise and lower and phase, it displays, the wound from its previous encounter. So of course Kirk, him softened by this, so him not really bother want kill it, like him I tell people to kill it on sight. Yeah, he was like, looking at it and think. Now Spock arrived just in time now for see Kirk, and the creature. And decide say, boy, true Spock can use a mild technique, it may be able to communicate with the creature, So he attempts that. And luckily it works because him learned that the creature is sentient after all, and it's from a race that is called the Orta. And it's in extreme pain, right? And of course, the Orta learns enough that it even not type it we said type a while ago, but it etches out in stone, no kill I, right? And Kirk summon McCoy and thing, and they must say, boy, McCoy, you can't do something for help the Orta. And McCoy always have someone, it's like, Jim, I'm a doctor, I'm not a, what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you expect me to do? Me do about this anatomy or this, what I'm saying? Now, Spock, the one of the mind meld, and it reveals that the Orta is preparing for extinction of its race, right? So I direct them now to find the same pump where they take away in the chamber of ages. And in communicating with the creature, right? So when them go to the chamber, them find about 1 million silicon spheres, right? Ball looking stuff, which Kirk and Spock now them understand is the Orta's eggs, and they are ready to hatch, right? Because every few thousand years, you have one Orta that is responsible for the next generation, in terms of breeding the next generation. So it breeds up all of these, lays all of these eggs, and essentially, awaits their birth. And when them, born, then basically. So of course, the miners them attack the security team and break in and realize what go on, and they're like, them ready for, let loose and thing, right? Kirk let them know, say, listen, the first man who draw, right, I have to go deal with me, because I go deal with them. Yeah? So the Orta was basically just a mother react to naturally protecting its young, its children, thousands of children, that is. So the miner them realize what going now and the big misunderstanding, and so them calm down. So the Kirk basically say, listen, maybe there's some collaboration that can happen between the miners and a new generation of Horta, right? Because the Horta them obviously have the ability to tunnel through rock, right? And they might do mining. So basically, they, what I'm saying, them come in and people their place, get them to do what they want after, all of this misunderstanding. Sounds familiar, right? Of course, the miner them home to the idea, the Orta that, is the mother is seriously injured and it's gonna die, soon. But McCoy, he figure out a way, he figure out a way to treat the Orta. You know what I'm saying? And tell him, say, no, you're not worried about that. We're pausing our voyage through the cosmos to recalculate our coordinates. Go grab a quick terrestrial refreshment, stretch your gravity-weary legs, and make sure your shields are up. When we return, we're diving straight back into the deepest corners of the galaxy. You're listening to Code Flix, and we'll be right back at warp speed. You call yourself listeners, an interesting species. You spend your days consuming endless streams of information. Yet, every so often, one signal rises above the noise, One signal inspires curiosity. One signal invites exploration. This podcast is one such signal. It is not sustained by wealth or commerce. It exists through the actions of those who choose to engage with it. If you find merit in these transmissions, share them with another. Leave a comment. Expand the conversation. We have observed your species long enough to understand one thing. Growth is not achieved through power alone. It is achieved through connection. Each listen strengthens the signal. Each follow extends its reach. Each share demonstrates a willingness to keep everything worthwhile endure. The outcome is always in your hands. We shall be watching. Perhaps in time, your species will prove itself worthy of the stars. End transmission. And of course, Spock communicate with the author and make, they know say, this is the situation, and of course the author seems to agree, right? And the crew return back to Enterprise and thing, As them return, Vandenberg radar them to tell them, say, hey, the author they're hatching. Yeah. Episode 26, Errand of Mercy. Captain Kirk attempts to help a race of people who seem to be unable to take aggressive postures, or actions, and they loathe war, right? Yeah. So the episode starts out with Starfleet Command issuing some coded orders, right, to Enterprise that the Klingon Empire is on the verge of collapse and that the Starfleet will expect some surprise attack, in this whole scenario. So the Enterprise is ordered to Argania, which is a peaceful Class M planet in the disputed area, right? And that is to prevent the Klingons from using it as a base of operations. So the Enterprise assume orbit. Kirk and Spock then beam down to the planet and then leave Lieutenant Sulu in charge, right? With some specific duties to the Enterprise, right? Now, when them beam to Organia and thing, they are met by a society that seems very primitive and agrarian, right? And the people them seem unconcerned about visitors just materializing within their midst. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine? You've never seen this before, but you're just like unconcerned and you're like, don't care. Do your thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? If somebody materialize in front of me, me know. I'll be very, very concerned. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, how you do that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, Kirk, I wonder, do they even, see people beaming down every day? You know what I'm saying? Out of nowhere. Anyways, they are greeted by this man who welcomes them, and him tell Kirk, say, listen, we don't have anybody in authority, right? But him a chairman of the Council of Elders. So him invite them to him council chambers, right? So, Spock did have a request for look around the village, so that him can get some tricorder readings and thing, and him agreed to that. Him say, go on, man, do your thing. So the counselor them a tell Kirk, say, them not have no need of protection or defenses. They do not believe the Klingon invasion poses any threat to their people or their culture or their way of life. So them recess now and thing and, talk it over, I guess, or whatever. Now Spock talk to Kirk to tell him, say, listen, the culture is not as advanced, right? Organia looks like an arrested culture. So the council made a decision now, which is basically the same thing, no change in their decision, right? Because them not see no benefit to affiliating with the Federation. Now, right as that happened now, the Klingon fleet arrives, right? And one of the council, like Trifane, him somehow, before them even can check, before Spock can even check on the in tricorder, you know, make communication with the Enterprise, he knows that they have arrived. And then Spock confirm it now. You know, him and Kirk surprised about the whole thing. The Enterprise end up have to leave Kirk and Spock, right? In this big Klingon occupation now where go on. Now the Argonians them provide Kirk and Spock with clothing and things. Say, you know, we disguise them and things. And say, you know, but we gotta take your weapons them, right? So Kirk take on the guise of a man named Barona, a leading Organian citizen, while Spock is a Vulcan merchant. He can't hide, you know. You know what? No matter where Spock end up, his ears cannot hide him, right? Now, when time the Klingons reach in and thing, them immediately say, boy, Spock, seem like a spy. We're gonna check you out. And the way Kirk a protest, must say, boy, with all of the rest of guys them were there, the other rest of Arganians, you know, them seem to be alright and them just have a nice smile, a blanket smile and thing, you know. But you just have this thing, boy, you will just say, you're not back down, you know? That's the kind of thing he might explain to him. I say, yo, I can respect a man like you because you're not afraid to talk your mind, you know? So then perform a examination with the mind scanner. And of course, this no Pierce Spock because, you know, he's a trained Vulcan, so he can block his mind, right, from any penetrating thoughts. Now, Kirk, basically, them assign Kirk to the Klingons, them say, I'm going to liaison with the Klingons, you know, with the Organians. So both of them get released to go about them business. So them dead, yeah, them a formulate a plan now because them must say them need for get the Klingons them out of Organia, right? Because them know say them no want them to have a foothold there, you know? So Kirk and Spock them destroy one Klingon armored dump and then find that the Organians them very appalled by the mere thought of violence. Kirk tell the High Councilman, say, listen, Uno can resist this military dictatorship. Uno just need to do something. But him say, Uno don't understand. Uno don't understand. Now, at the same time, when them they are chat in the council chambers, them know say that the Klingons them have them under surveillance, right? And them hear everything. So then take Kirk now, we can go put him in the mind cipher, right? And of course, that reveals Kirk's identity, right? Kirk and Spock them get taken prisoner and threatened. And the man remain just as him is, you know, just like, boy, we can't do any harm. Of course, Kirk and the Klingon man, them have a discussion about their different ideologies, right? How similar they are and how different they are. Then give Kirk 12 hours to answer questions about the Starfleet, starship deployments and everything. Otherwise, he might get subjected to a mind cipher. And that it can possibly make him into a vegetable. And I've said, yeah. Of course, Kirk defiant kind of say, boy, I bet he just put me in it now, you know, because me not tell you nothing. So with just a few hours left, the cell doors open, but this time is the council chamberman, right? And they were talking to one another, in such a way, like them and say, boy, we have to intervene, we have to do something. And like, you wonder what they're thinking that they're gonna do, who can't fight, and what I'm saying, yeah, cause they put up that pretense. So when the door open and you see them now come for Kirk and Spock, you say, okay, them find them way in, so that means that them have something about them, have some little skill. Kirk now understand how them betray him in a one, but I know them rescue him. So of course him not really trust them. But him inform them say that are the Organian, so that them not have much choice. So of course, you wonder where the security where they outside, right? I see him think Kirk asks, where are the security guards? You know what I'm saying? The Klingon guards that would have been guiding them. The Organian man's like, not now to them. So little after that, no, the Klingon captain, him get informed, said that them escape and thing, and the two guard them simply was not there. You know what I'm saying? Them just disappear. Disappear they have. So now him decides say he must set out that are the Klingon commander him give the order special occupation order 4. Now Kirk, Spock and the Argonians them hear a disruptor fire, and on the loudspeakers them that the hostages will be killed. 200 are gonna get killed now, and 200 more in 2-hour intervals until the Federation spies are returned. So of course Kirk now realized that boy, I'm not have much options him have to help them people here because they don't seem to want to save themselves. So him do a suicide run now him a plan for do, you know what I'm saying? For assault the stronghold. But the council of Organians them return them phasers, you know what I'm saying, under duress. Then after Kirk and Spock leave, then confer privately. Of course, we cannot allow it. I wonder what they mean by they cannot allow it. Haven't they been allowing everything up to this point? So Kirk and Spock planned for assault when darkness fall now and thing. So them disable Core's lieutenant, and then them gain entry to him office. Now Kirk, him not plan for kill Core, and Core wants to start war and thing, right? On the surface and in space. That evil Core, I tell him say, yo, my office is also under surveillance. So now, big war I gonna fight now, the Klingon troops them will come in I office now, right? And everybody ready now for go fight and kill one another. All of a sudden, their weapons are too hot to handle. And at the same thing happen with the two fleet them. The Enterprise in a space and the Klingon ship, nobody can touch the weapons them because they're too hot to handle. So now, the Klingon High Council, man, him enter in the office and him apologize that him have to be forced to intervene. And him have to put a stop to the violence. Him said that even though him stand right in front of them, him also stand on both of them respective homeworlds, that is Earth and Kronos, right, for the Klingons. And that both sides must agree to cease hostilities or them armed forces will be immobilized. Of course, even though Kirk now really want a war still, he must say this is, this kind of interruption does, feel a way. And the fact said that them have legitimate reasons why them have to use violence and have grievance. And them have the right to handle it the way all them see fit. So like also Organian man and say, that in our future the races will eventually become fast friends and they will work together. And of course, the Klingon captain Corey, he find this unbelievable. So one of the Argonian man, whether I think his name is Claymore, him said that them Discordians require that they must leave. And the other Argonian man said that with all that would have gone, the 200 Argonian hostages, they weren't killed. Right? And that they have been basically putting on a performance, right? Merely for their benefit. Because all of this is just mere them putting on appearance. That the Organians, they have evolved over millions of years beyond the need for physical bodies, right? And they have become so advanced and powerful energy beings. And then as they say that then become this bright lights, they become lights, you know what I'm saying, right in front of them and disappear. Kirk, Spock, and Core, when they open up their eye, because they must shield their eye from the light, right? They realize, Now Kirk turned to Core and he tell him, say, look like they will not be going to war after all. And the Klingon man say, a shame, Captain. It would have been glorious. So of course then go back to the Enterprise and Kirk admit to Spock say him feel embarrassed. And him even furious with the Organians because them prevent a war with the Klingons. A war him did not want. And Kirk even confess to Spock say, boy, them sometimes believe themselves to be so much powerful of a force in the universe. And how them feel to realize that that's not the case. Right? And him say, Captain, you have no reason to be embarrassed about it, because the Organians themselves, it took them millions of years to reach where them there. So even the gods, they did not become what they are overnight. Episode 27, The Alternative Factor. So the Enterprise crew finds themselves coming face to face with a man from a parallel universe. And that's just my preface for that one, because trust me, I'll be a things going on another episode here, right? From the graphics at the time, you know what I'm saying? You know that thing where you do the spinning newspaper shot in and stuff, and then what they did is they superimpose the film because them kind of never have CGI and them something there, so them kind of CGI they kind of superimpose the film to have two man, right? So you can't really they're kind of ghosted out, right? And they're superimposed over some stars, right? A star field kind of shot. And they keep rotating that, and the two man them, you can see them two man them struggle, them have big struggle and fight and thing and rare in the thing, right? Anyways, that's my little thing about this film that just took me out of it for a bit, but I'm able to still do the deep dive because I kind of have to make sure I did understand what I'm going, right? So we see the Enterprise in standard orbit around a uncharted planet, and the first thing that happens is that the starship gets violently rocked, twice. Everything within sensor range start to blink, right? So that means there's something going on, right? And it is described as if the universe itself is on the verge of ceasing to exist, right? So after the credits roll, we have Captain Kirk, Spock, and the landing party. They encounter a man, right? Who immediately is like, you came, thank the heavens. It's not too late. He's dirty, he's disheveled, and he falls from this rock, right? So the landing party, them take him back to the Enterprise, and that's where them start for, the usual thing, like trying to find out who he is, where he come from and all of them something there. And the man seemed to be very out of it. Now, at the same time, the strange phenomena that we saw pre-credit happen to drain the dilithium crystals, right? Which, if you know anything about the Starfleet and their vessels, that's what powers it and stuff. And you know what I'm saying? They can't really go to warp, right? Without that. So what's even make it even worse, the situation worse, is that Starfleet issue a command of code factor 1, which means that there's some kind of invasion status, right? So because this thing that happened obviously didn't just happen to the Enterprise only. This is something that's happening all over to Starfleet. So them detect all of this thing happening and thing. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that they'd never, detect before, and something where them never anticipate happening, and they don't even know what it is, right? So, of course, the Enterprise being the one that is on this adventure to go, to new frontiers and stuff, ends up being the bait. You know what I'm saying? Now, the man who calls himself Lazarus, Lazarus, right? Yeah. A lot of religious iconography there. That is thing, yeah. Anyways, he is saying that he's pursuing this thing. He describes it as a monster, and that it describes entire civilizations. So Kirk, of course, wants to understand, what's going on with it and things. So, he decides to beam back to the planet, right? Where they find out, say, boy, that planet there is, has not been inhabited by any other creature, right? Based on what them say, right? Of course, that means probably Lazarus a lie and thing. And so, they have that whole thing of trying to figure out what that is, why would that be the case? Anyways, now, Spock discovered the source of some radiation, right, where seemed to be unexplicable. It doesn't make sense because of the way how the rules of the universe are set up, right? It's as if a rip in the universe, that's the description, right? And that's causing the physical laws to not apply any at all, right? So they have to figure out a way now to locate the source, which seems to be some dilithium crystals, right? And of course, when Lazarus hear about the dilithium crystals where the Enterprise have, he's beyond excited about this, right? And Imala demand that, Captain Kirk give him the crystals. Of course, the captain refused. You know what I'm saying? What else are you gonna do, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, him find him way to overpower one of the engineering officers them, and him steal two of the dilithium crystals them, right? Now, while all of this are going on, right, I must tell you that there are points in time where, we see the actor who's playing Lazarus switching between two different personalities. So, and it is very clear on screen with the fact that one seems to have a bruise or, some scarring at the top of them head, right? And the other, when him, materializing basically him thing there. So, and as I mentioned, that whole shot that they set up with the two man, they must have this kind of struggle and above, superimposed over a starfield. Yeah, the whole of that 9 years, we keep seeing that throughout the episode, as I mentioned before, right? So they, of course, confront Lazarus because, him asked about it, him that demanded earlier and stuff and thing, and him deny, say, him thing there, insisting, said, the monster do it. So, remember, they know, say, they have been searching for this monster, quote unquote, right? And them can't find it. And he keeps talking about this. Obviously, I'm saying, something's going on. So, when the crew investigate the ship that Lazarus same have and thing, which they would have found, them not find the crystals them, right? So of course that made them feel say, all right, probably there is something to what he's saying, some truth. So later on now, them say, we need to find out more about this. So them go back to him again and thing, and them a challenge him about what is being saying and all of these things. And him just tell them, say, listen, me I want time traveler, right? And the spacecraft is basically, it is able to travel through dimensional gateway, right? And him all I tell them, say, the planet that them find him on basically is home in the other dimension, in the other parallel universe. So, of course, because of Lazarus' apparent injuries, them leave him to recover from those. Now, Kirk and Spock, them regroup in the briefing room and go over the evidence and thing, And of course, them are realize, say, boy, based on the fact, say, he has been given contradictory explanations, as well as the fact, say, there are certain differences with the way how him handle himself, him character changes, right? They realize, say, there's two versions of him, right? And the both of them can't exist in the same universe simultaneously. So there must be something that them can do, and them are try to figure out the part there. Now Lazarus, him set some fire to main engineering, right? And this is applied to steal the crystals them, right? So him beam down to the planet and Kirk chase him and thing, right? Him end up being sent through by accident because Lazarus never planned upon that. Same would have come and catch him up and, right at the ship. And they end up going to a parallel dimension. Right? And when they pass through the parallel dimension, the same superimposed special effects that they were using, they kind of use it with Kirk just wandering for a while and then him end up in the actual universe, right? Apparently that what we're seeing is basically him in the space or the void, right? If you're a Doctor Who fan, you know that, all of these terms sound very familiar. Yeah, so, they kind of sound scientific, but they have no basis in science because whatever, have the ability to detect those kind of things, But anyways, when Kirk end up on the other side, he meets Lazarus B, right? Who basically, him face to face with another Lazarus, and he's like, me, I wonder if I can trust this man. But in talking to him seem more coherent. Him don't seem, scary. You know what I'm saying? Like the other Lazarus. You know what I'm saying? And him I tell him, say, Captain, me need your help. Me need you to send Lazarus through, right? And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna trap him in the void or the space between dimensions forever, right? And you're gonna help me by destroying the ship. So once he come through, you must destroy the ship. Of course, the captain reluctantly agreed because he realized in doing that, he would also be trapping Lazarus B, who just a try to help out and thing. And Lazarus B basically I said this is a sacrifice I'm willing to make for the both universes to survive because you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Be a craziness and thing. So the corridor will be sealed off forever and both of them will no longer exist because them then, outside of either universe. And both of them will basically be fighting for the entirety of eternity. So of course the captain agrees. He goes through and he tricks Lazarus. So the episode ends with the captain realizing that he has trapped the two Lazaruses and they will be basically fighting for eternity. Episode 28, The City on the Edge of Forever. So Kirk and Spock, they follow McCoy to the past, where they tried or attempt to try to stop him from changing the past. So this episode starts off where they are in orbit. Again, there is red alert, right? That comes through. There's some violent time distortions surrounding a planet, right? So as the ship pulls into orbit and thing, Scotty warned that the control circuits are going to overload, right? And then right after that, they do and cause the helm and everything to get damaged, right? And also injures Sulu, right? Who awakens, right? Revived and seems to be a little bit out of it, right? Because he's like, yeah, Now, McCoy end up getting overdosed on one drug, I think they call it cordrazine, yeah? And that drug leads McCoy to end up doing some crazy things because, they can't hold him, right? Because him of struggle and fight against them, and him ramble about how they're against him and all sort of something and thing, like a crazy man basically. Now McCoy end up breaking free and going to the planet. So of course they have to go after him, right? Of course they have a crisis on their hands trying to figure out how to get the Enterprise functioning again after this overload happens, right? Now they beam down to the planet where them find one ruined city, and there's this unusual looking portal in the midst. And them there and they must search for Dr. McCoy. So of course Kirk and Spock, they investigate what this portal is all about and what this thing is actually there for. Them realize it generates some powerful waves of displacement, time displacement. So one booming voice comes out from the device, says, "I am the guardian of forever." And they're like, "Ah," you know what I'm saying? It tell them say, it has been there before the sun burned hot in space and before their race was born, right? And it await the questions that them have to ask it and think. And that it is both machine and being and can also be neither. I'll say very vague, right? Anyways, the Guardian of Forever, it is basically a time portal, and as they peer through the portal, them can see Earth's history being portrayed, basically, from Stone Age right up to the present and the future. So it it's basically like it'll move at a pace where, thing there, it'll move fast. Now, at the same time, they come upon Dr. McCoy, right? And McCoy here, the Guardian, I explain the portal and everything. McCoy jump through the portal. Yeah? Him just jump through and at the portal. Now, at the same time, I should mention that Spock was basically using a tricorder to record, the portal and things. So at the same time, he would have caught a glimpse, the tricorder would have been able to caught a glimpse of where McCoy would have leapt to, which time frame he would have leapt to. And he realizes that it basically a loop. So it's actually going through time. Even if it goes so fast, it go through time in a loop. And so then basically just have to wait the next time that it'll come up to that time for them to be able to follow him into the past. Because what happens right after McCoy departs through that portal is that they lost contact with the Enterprise, right? Which the Guardian tells them is no longer there. The Enterprise, doesn't exist. It never existed. And things. So that means, say, McCoy, by going through the portal, has changed the past in some way, shape, or form. And that the Earth is no longer there. Essentially the Earth that they know is no longer there. So everybody who come down in the landing party gets stranded there, so, because then basically they're the edge of forever, basically, right? Right? That's why the roll credits, the episode of that is called The City on the Edge of Forever. So the Guardian of Forever, basically I tell them that and thing, and so they might come to the understand, say, listen, we have to, go back and try and catch him before him do any damage. So they're attempting to go before him. So Spock say, all right, we can do this based on what I do. And that Spock and Kirk, they leap into the past, right? So they leap through and they find themselves in New York City around 1930. And Kirk said he recognized the period from old photographs, right? And Spock explains, it seems like they have been on an economic upheaval. So if you know anything about history and American history, you know that this is referring to the Great Depression, right? And of course, because of the way how Spock and Kirk is dressed, in their Starfleet uniform, people are like, you know what I'm saying, looking. So Kirk says, listen, we need to be less inconspicuous, we need to find clothes and things. So this is funny, right? They go up to the side of this building where them see some clothes and thing. Kirk go up there and him take down the clothes them and thing, and him there pay attention to Spock and talk to Spock and say, so this is what we need to do and thing and really. And when they turn over and look, there is a police officer looking directly at them. It's like, what are doing them clothes there? Like that's look like, what's going on, you know what I'm saying? And the cop chases them down, right? They are able to evade the cop, and they end up in a basement where they find themselves at a street mission, right? One of those places that people who are homeless, people who destitute, need food and shelter can go, right? And they find this out because this lady finds them in the basement, and basically that's Edith Killer, right? A killer. think that's how her name is pronounced. She, of course, she's like apprehensive first because she said them money have just broke in, so them bright, so But as I mentioned, Kirk always has his way with the ladies, so him give her a nice little look. You know what I'm saying? And she does seem like she does soften up and say, all right, she's gonna help them out, and she gives them a place to stay and food, right? So because them don't know how long them are gonna stay, right? And them not no money, so them need to figure out something. And Spock needs to build some kind of rudimentary computing device that can help them because now no computers, like the Enterprise ship and them something there, for do the computations they need for figure out when McCoy is gonna come through, or what they need to do, because what is he gonna change? So what they need to stop him from changing history. So them that they are in the mission, I eat soup and bread and thing, and Edith takes the stage and does a very motivational speech. Before she start, one of the other man them with there said to them, say, all right, this is how you pay for the meal that you eat. You have to listen to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you have to go listen to what she have to say, that guys. You know what I'm saying? So, it's as woke as it could be at the time, right? At least she was able to talk, right? And she was talking about how mankind has so much promise and hope for the future and thing. And, we just have to get past our divisiveness and the violent ways, try to be, less violent, less aggressive with one another. Right? Which is a good, speech. I often give that same speech sometime. But, they end up listening to her, and Kirk is inspired, and Kirk like her and thing. So they have been there now for several days, and Spock is hard at work trying to build the computer and thing, and he might get it for beep boop boop. Remember, them not really have like transistors and all of the modern things them would have, them time, and then just probably they have vacuum tubes and something, I think. So in basically they have to do it using those things, So the entire room take up space in the room, the bed and everything where they have doing that. Now, of course, Edith comes by wondering what them up to and thing, and she start to kind of recognize that them two are not normal man. You know what I'm saying? They ain't normal. They ain't from this time in that way. You know what I'm saying? And she even express it to Kirk, who is like, why you say so? And, of course, them end up a walk home together one night time after Kirk and Spock. Because she come and give them job and thing to go do. Some like a odd job. She find them place to go work and them a sweep up place and thing. And all of those things. So them finally able to access some information from the tricorder using the rudimentary computer that Spock was able to set up. Spock sees where the president and Edith Keller, the president confers Edith Keller, there is no world war, right? The Germans, them never start that war and something. But it never get to see much else because the computer overloads, right? And so it needs some repair and thing before it can be used again, right? So them they are, try to surmise from what they saw that probably she's meant to do all of these things and and I say, boy, Spock said, but maybe on the contrary is that because they also saw where Edie Keller gets mowed down by a vehicle in the street. And the man said, boy, maybe she should go that way, you know what I'm saying? Instead of, you know, World War not happening. And because of the World War not happening, certain advancements in technology would not have happened. Certain things would have, you know, never gotten off the ground. So that's why Starfleet never became necessary at any point. So Spock asks Kirk a very pressing question that suppose them discover that to set history right, Edie Keller must go, right? Of course, Kirk no want answer that because, you know what I'm saying, him just a get for grow in affection for her, you know, and him not really want to see her go, you know, especially you get so close to someone, you know, want them to just go, right? So, yeah, you know, he's unable to answer that question. I would. Anyways, now McCoy enters the frame now because he comes in and of course, based on them computations, they would have been able to figure out, say, you know, the timelines converge on certain events, right? So if he came to that decade and timeline, I mean, say they would meet and him end up coming there and, you know, the something when he'd have kind of wear off after Edith Keller would have taken him in, right? No, them not know, you know, that's Kirk and Spock. Them not know say him get taken in yet, right? Cause she keep him in a one back room because he wasn't feeling well. So after Spock is able to fix up back another computer again, cause him never discard that one because that burn out totally, right? And fix up another one and get it working. He was able to see more of the things them, and that is where he was certain now that Edith Curler must go because her situation, right, changes history in that profound way, right? Now, when McCoy regained consciousness now and, you know, fully recovered and thing, you know, she did it and she explained to him, he might explain to her certain good things and she say, to him say, listen, you sound just like a friend of mine. And he might say, hey, I would love to meet that friend. Wouldn't no one say, Kirk shut up, but right? And she said, anyways, Kirk see Edith in the staircase and you know he's almost like he might have that double take like what's happening and thing because when Edith come down the staircase, she almost fell and tumbled down that staircase, you know, so that means that she could have just end up breaking her neck, right? And she acknowledges that, like, yeah, I could have broken my neck and thing. And it's like, you know, Kirk is like, no, I'm not gonna make that happen to you. Like, you know, I'm indignant, you know, they can't allow you to die. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's faced with the prospect that this is gonna change the universe, the timeline, you know, in such a way. So of course, he may even not rebut Spock about it because I must say, but McCoy not there. So, you know, obviously McCoy is the reason why things would have turned out the way they were, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if him not there, we have to figure out what he's gonna do, and then we can decide what we have to do. It's almost like a that much have to argue, right? Which is just a way for push the can down the road, you know? Anyways, now the evening hours now, Edith go visit back McCoy and him fully restored now and thing and him all I say, boy, I want to help out around the mission and thing and you know, cause after she saved him life, you know. So she said him, say, boy, you know what, we can discuss that later. I have to go and thing. I'm gonna go with my gentleman friend for go watch one Clark Gable movie. And him say, eh? Like him I say, me no know about Clark Gable. And she's like, why, you know, that's very, very strange, you know? After all of what she see, she still has said that's strange. Anyways, she tell him good night and Spock now exit the mission at the same time that Kirk and Edith are go up the street and thing and them cross the street nicely and thing and, you know, at the same time, Dr. McCoy comes out and Kirk see her and him, you know, he must say, boy, like she said to him, say, you know, my friend named McCoy and thing, and say, you're talking about Leonard McCoy? So I'm there already, basically, you know, like, you know, he's surprised and thing. So him tell her, if you wait on the sidewalk, don't move, don't move. So Edith a watch from the other side of the street and she see where Kirk and McCoy them meet up and thing and realize, say, you know, the whole of them are friend, right? God for see one another and thing, cause McCoy recover and thing now, you know, and them when them take a look, no Edith that across the road, nah, look how she a go, right? And them see, say, this is the moment that it happened. Spock yell out and tell, and say, no, Jim. And Dr. McCoy even realize, you know, say she get more down now. And is like, you know, me need to go help her and thing. And Kirk hold him back and say, no. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why, Jim? Why, you know, allow me to go and help her and thing? Because Kirk come to him senses there. So now, and at the moment, realizing, say, why this had to happen. Right? And you know, it's just sad. This part of the episode, you know, this is one of the episodes that make me just think about, you know, how, you know, things happen, you know, how life progresses, you know, and all of these things, you know. So the three of them return back to the 23rd century and they're back in their Starfleet uniforms. When they return back to the city, they're able to get the Enterprise, which is there now, right? It's back and thing, and them can communicate again. So that's obviously means that the timeline has resumed its shape, right? Which the Guardian declares, right? And all is as it was before. And it basically like I mean, was like many such journeys are possible. So let me be your gateway. So, you know, said about it, I'll go back through that to them. So they take themselves out of that situation they quickly. You know what I'm saying? Let's beam up. We need to get out of here right away, right? Yeah, everybody does farm up in the formation for go back up in the Enterprise, beam up in the Enterprise, cause nobody know want to stay there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, nobody know want to make the mistake for go cross timeline and cause another catastrophe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I would understand. Episode 29. Operation Annihilate. The Enterprise investigates a system of planets where inhabitants have seemed to slowly be driven insane. Right? So the episode starts so where the captain is concerned, right? Because Uhura has been unable to contact one transmitter on a planet, right? On the Nova. And one of them is supposed to be like a private transmitter, right? Which, based on what Spock's research has been revealing, is that there's been a pattern of mass insanity, right? Spreading through that sector of the galaxy, right? And it starts with one planet, right? When named Levinos 4, right? And it does spread like some contagion, right? And this is unexplained. And so they realize, boy, the Nova is next, right? And this planet actually has Kirk's brother Sam, who's stationed there with him family. Now, Sulu picks up on sensors that there's a small craft of Denovan configuration, right? And it is about to go into the Denovan sun, right? It'll fly right towards the sun, right? And it doesn't appear to be out of control, because, the way to fly in that pattern, you know what I'm saying, where you could have decay. Now, Kirk ordered Sulu now to engage the Enterprise, for intercept it and thing. The Enterprise is out of range of it. Them try to tractor beam. The Enterprise getting so close to the sun that the sun's gravity start to have an effect on the ship. And, it's not a good effect. They don't really want that to, tear them up, right? Now, them patching to the ship, trying to make contact, and them hear over the radio, I did it. It's finally gone. I'm free. Right before the vessel destroyed. So Dr. McCoy him said to Kirk, say, boy, your family, no, they on that planet, your brother Sam and his family was on that planet, So there hasn't been any contact with that planet for over a year, right? And so they are wondering if there is something to it. So of course they have to end up going, to the planet, right? When them pick up back that private transmitter channel again, them hear one woman speak, but she not respond to the captain when the captain ask her any question. And then the contact get abruptly cut out. Now, the Enterprise arrives and at the planet and thing, and then beam down, right? That's Spock, McCoy, Scott, Yeoman, Zahara, and Bobby. So when them reach, of course, them not see no signs of human life anywhere, and it's very quiet. You know what I'm saying? And the planet's supposed to have at least 100,000 in the city at least, right? Although there seems to be no one that them can see. And as them said that, so them get attacked by 4 men, right? Who start charge at them and scream, "Go away! We don't want you hurt." But even though they scream out like that and say that, they are, coming at them with clubs, right? The landing party. So, it does seem like a contradiction because they're saying things and then their body, right, is just doing things differently, right? The landing party uses their phasers to stun them, and they, are they're unconscious, right? But when Dr. McCoy checks the man them with the medical tricorder, he realized that the man them nervous system still operate like they're being stimulated somehow, as if they are still conscious. So them hear one loud scream now will draw them to the lab where Kirk and brother Sam would have been. They find Sam dead on the floor, and the wife is hysterical, right? Most fear attack them, the son Peter is unconscious nearby, right? McCoy sedate the wife, and McCoy and Spock, them give condolence to Kirk, that his brother pass off, right? And there's evidence to suggest that there is something that was trying to force its way in through the ventilation shaft, even though the sensors that they have not showing nothing in the area, or that they can detect. All right, so they take the wife and the son to the Enterprise, and them a check on the lab results to identify the cause. So in the meantime now, Kirk, them have to sedate, the son and the wife, keep them heavily sedated. And even though they're heavily sedated, them still awake. So something is going on. Kirk have the hard task of informing her that Sam died, though Peter is still alive, but in terrible pain. So she did and she explained to Kirk, say, the things them come in mostly 8 months before, and on one ship, right, with its crew, those crew members are not took at fault, basically because they were under the influence of these creatures, right? So them use the inhabitants of the Denova planet as their arms and legs, right? Them force them to build ships and them control, the host with a lot of pain, a huge amount of pain, right? That's the word I was looking for. So, with her last act, she implored for Kirk to not let the things them go any further, right? And of course, this effort, it cost her everything she have left, and she writhed out in a pain and flatline. So now Kirk rejoined back the landing party and, informed them, say, listen, we are look for some creature. The landing party no discover anything yet. And the only thing that they can observe is they might hear some kind of buzzing, some, weird buzzing. Kirk ordered everybody to put them phasers setting to force 3, right? And that's the kill setting, basically. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the creatures seem to be willing to kill. So when they reach one building where they might hear the sound now, the landing party discover some strange looking creatures which they cannot detect with their instruments, clinging to the walls and even the underside of the opening, so they can't even pass through the opening without passing one of these creatures. And they look like some kind of flat gelatinous kind of creature, you know what I'm saying? And them clinging to the walls and stuff. And they emit that buzzing, And they're also capable of wingless flight, right? So them fire at the creatures them now and thing, and most of the creatures them disperse or get destroyed. Most of the creatures, that is, But these creatures, they seem to be barely affected by, the phasers. Even though, they turn it on pan them, like you turn on a machine gun, Yeah. So after them whole one of them creatures they underneath, the phaser, it just fall to the ground, right? And so they are of the impression that, hey, probably this creature done fine, So sensing that this might be a trap, Kirk ordered the landing party out of the infested area, right? But as them turn for leave, so one of the creatures, the same one where they drop on the ground and pretend dead, flies up to Spock, land on him back, right? And Spock drop a ground, arrive in a pain, right? It leave some strange puncture wounds, right? So them Kirk have to rip off the something off him back, right? Kirk asks Spock if him alright, but Spock look upon him and him they in a terrible pain, right? And say, as I mentioned before, Vulcans, they, know how to suppress them pain and thing, but the fact say Spock is in this terrible pain means that, boy, this is something different. So them take him to sick bay and McCoy attempts to remove the strand of tissue that would have been left in Spock's back. And this is against the nurse's orders, because Nurse Chapel, right, who was played by Mahel Roddenberry. And if you know Mahel Roddenberry, you know that she is the wife of, or was the wife of Gene Roddenberry, who wrote the Star Trek, series. So, back to the episode. So, they close up the wound and, it seems like the creatures, they attack by leaving their sting, right, with a piece of tissue, and that infiltrates any victim's entire nervous system, right? And so it make it even harder now for, a skilled doctor like McCoy to even be able to attempt to remove something like that without harming, the patient. So that means at this point, there's no hope for Kirk, brother, son, So them take out the piece where they could have take out, and them take it to the lab, for analyze it against the one that them take from the wife body, that Kirk brother wife. Now Spock him start to recover from him unconsciousness, but him him start to rage at Nurse Chapel. Him come out of sick bay and him go up on the bridge, right? And basically he was trying to get the ship out of orbit, right? Him start to take Sulu from the Hellman. Them have to get 2 officers in for, manage Spock. Of course, him so strong as a Vulcan, that not easy for do, you know what I'm saying? And him all are using the Vulcan neck pinch, you know what I'm saying? For Kirk. So them eventually get for Rex Slim, down to the ground and thing, and while he's being held down, then them return to sick bay, right? So them realize when say him under some extreme amount of pain, right? Very high. And that is why, him a move so insane. So it's basically like a torture that is being performed on the body and causes them to, be more pliable to whatever motions that the creatures want them to do. So, Spock said, boy, as Vulcans, pain is a thing of the mind, and the mind can be controlled, right? And him sound so indignant, like, him ready to deal with it that way there. And, it is at this point, them I wonder if them truly can cure Kirk nephew, right? And whether, they can even cure the rest of colonists. You know what I'm saying? Get, the other colonists out of the situation. So McCoy and Kirk, they leave Spock, and Spock find a way to somehow conquer him pain, and him break out of sick bay and get back in a uniform and thing, right? And start make motions to go back to the planet surface with one of the specimen case them. Of course, Scott, I wonder where him go. So he try to hold him in a transport, right? Kind of there in a where's where the transport for send him down to the planet. And Spock, he must basically whip out a phaser because I know say him have no chance to do a one-on-one with Spock, right? Because Spock strong. So in whole, Spock there at the threat of, shooting with the phaser. Kirk and McCoy, they have to come down there. When they come down there, Spock explain say him plan of get the creature down there and them go study the creature. Because that's the only way them can be able to figure out a cure, Him able to convince Kirk, and even though McCoy said, boy, he's still a patient, he need to be in bed, and, he said, make Spock beam down. You know what I'm saying? And him give Spock Scotty's phaser. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Spock beam down and him get attacked by one of the colonists them, right? Who knock out the face out of hand with a club. But Spock, even though him get tumbled down a little bit, him regain back him control and he struggle, right, against the parasite, right? And him neck pinch the man, knock him out and thing. So Spock go back to the same place where the creature them was sighted and thing, and he knocks down one of the creature them with him phaser fire, and then him just return to his ship and begin to study it now, right? So what they start to realize now is that the creature resemble, something more like one enormous brain cell, right? So they realize that boy, the creatures aren't separate animals or separate organisms. They are, parts of a single entity, right? And they are connected in the same way, right? Mysteriously, though, like a nervous system, right? And so you can't just destroy one piece. You have to get at the overarching piece, the bigger piece, Mm-hmm. So of course, at the same time, McCoy try to find some method to kill the creatures them, which him fail. There's no heat, no radiation, nothing that seemed to be able to take the creatures them out completely. So of course, if Kirk them can't find a way to destroy the creatures them in time, then they must go destroy the planet to prevent the spread. And that means 1 million people will die. And his nephew as well. So he might demand McCoy. I mean, one of the times when you see Kirk really frustrated, wants answers, So seeing no hope, Spock requests to beam down to the planet, take the Kirk nephew Peter with him before the planet destroyed, But Kirk him deny that permission there. Because he must say there must be some answer that lies in the way how the man where they go into the sun at the beginning of the episode, he flew into the sun, and when he was close enough to the sun, he seemed to have gotten him senses back, right? That he must say him free, right? And then because he was so close to the sun, him get pulled into the sun and died. So Spock start to go through what the properties of the sun might be, and Kirk consider if it's not any of the physical things like radiation or heat, could it be the light, right? So Kirk say maybe this can be the answer. McCoy protest that light not lethal, cause not trouble them have been in the same sun for how many years and it not kill them. So why it would trouble them? But Kirk say maybe it is not in the spectrum of light that humans can see. And if you know anything about science, you know that there is a visible spectrum and a non-visible spectrum, right, of light. And so there is infrared, right, which people use to make infrared goggles so they can see things with temperature and and so on. So in this case, they're looking at it from that angle, because they were looking at all of the things that we would be able to detect. But what if that light, strong enough amount of it was lethal to them? So Spock say, yeah, man, it's a big possibility, So he must say, no, McCoy, I say, but can't bring the planet any closer to the sun. So what do you think we are gonna do? So them I say probably them can bring the equivalent of Denver, right, towards a string of satellites that would have surrounded the planet, right? That would be able to channel and magnify the light that is, being used by the sun. So, McCoy rig up one test cubicle in a bio lab and Nurse Chapel put the sample creature inside. Now, Spock might do make a calculation and, you know what I'm saying, you might measure that it would be about 1 million candles per square inch, right? I just film calculation that with all of the satellite network and intensity, right? And even anything within a closed or darkened area will be affected. So everybody put on them safety goggles now, because they might conduct an experiment and a test. So they expose the creature now for several seconds, right? So them can confirm the theory, right? High intensity light, right? And it works, right? So it's, the it can work on all of the infiltrated victims, right? So of course Spock now run quick, you know what I'm saying? They don't do no other check or nothing. Say, all right, me quick go and just, you know what I'm saying, volunteer quickly. And I think probably it was an illogical response from Spock's part, as a science officer, right, to do this. But him jumping at the cubicle, right, and McCoy, you know what I'm saying, say, boy, but I rather it not be you, you know what I'm saying? Because you're one of the best first officer. And, you know what I'm saying, they put on then goggles. Spock refused goggles, because he must say, boy, if this is to work, we have to make sure, say, we test it upon somebody, you know what I'm saying, without goggles, because the people on the planet now gonna have no goggles. We don't have enough goggles for them, you know what I'm saying? So the test is done, and of course, when Spock steps out of the cubicle, he has lost his eyesight. Yep. So we see Spock nearly tumble over one object in a way, and that's how we realize he has lost his eyesight. Now, they must say, boy, this is the closest we ever come to figure, this thing, and thing, and of course, and I say, boy, McCoy start to look back on the thing and say, the light, the spectrum of light what we really needed to throw at the creature, it never have to be visible, right? It only needed to be ultraviolet radiation. Ultraviolet. So, McCoy feeling really, really bad now because he realize, say, boy, him just blind him fellow crewman, one of the best Starfleet officer Spock, for no reason, right? Although Spock is like, what has been done is done. Make the choice, and we figure out things late, but nonetheless we figure it out. So Kirk ordered the satellite control to deploy the formation of the ultraviolet satellites around the planet. The satellites them get turned on, and the creatures them start for us, be destroyed and thing. And then even the ground stations them start to make contact. People get freed from the grips of the creature, right? Because all of the creatures are dying all over. Now Kirk pass on the good news to Sick Bay, and Dr. McCoy pass it on to Spock, right? And you may remind McCoy that, on a theme fault for, causing the blindness of Spock, but McCoy not respond to him none at all. So a little after that now, Kirk, start recording a mission update for Starfleet Command, right? And all of a sudden, they see Spock I return to the bridge and I walk like he can see again, right? So Spock, them know say, say me forget say I have one inner eyelid, and it is a hereditary trait of Vulcans that we develop protection against the brightness of the Vulcan sun, and this is an instinctual thing. So it's a muscle that they don't use often, but it instinctually protected him, right? And Spock explained it is normally ignored, similar to how humans would ignore the moon appendix until something do it. Kirk, so smile and a ponder, even I was elated at that because me I say, yo, Kirk Spock can't go through the rest of the episode or the other 2 seasons, being blind. There's no way. And I've watched the movies, before even watching the full series, and may I say, there's nowhere in it that shows that he was blind. So there must be something, right? So yeah, the episode ends off really nicely and thing, and so them lay a core scene for Starbase 10, right? Everybody relieved beyond words. Yeah, that Spock, can be able to come back to work and everybody is good. These are some theories about unresolved mysteries and a few plot points. And I won't be long because we've already gone through, 3 chapters of, just season 1 of Star Trek, the original series. So the season begins with an unaired pilot, right? Originally the Cage. And then the second pilot was Where No Man Has Gone Before, right? It settles into this weekly format that is made the series very famous. It includes some episodes such as the Carbonite Maneuver, one of which is my favorite, Balance of Terror, The Menagerie, Arena, Space Seed, and The Devil in the Dark, right? So the season was defined as a franchise identity, because it was optimistic of exploration, right? It wasn't one of those alien contact series where just tell a story about how aliens come and destroy or whatever. It was showing us, some very optimistic views, of, ethical dilemmas and, a balance between, Kirk's instinct, Spock's logic, and McCoy's compassion, right? It also introduced some major recurring ideas like the Prime Directive, the danger of technological overreach, and the idea that monsters can be misunderstood beings. So some of the unresolved things are like Pike, Christopher, Captain Pike fate, right? Because it is introduced in the pilot and later is revisited in the Menagerie. But, there isn't anything that, binds everything together, right? There's this condition of the earliest tragic mysteries, the franchise. It's just here and just gone. Here, with us here, both it and it just gone. Now, Gary Mitchell's transformation in Where No Man Has Gone Before. This raises some questions, right? As to whether, the godlike powers, they always corrupt human beings, right? Is it that we are prone to want to lust after and have that kind of, influence over our fellow human beings, right? Then we have the Talosians, who they remain to be, one of the most unsettling alien species in Trek, because their illusions were so powerful, right, that reality itself became very uncertain. And then we have Khan in Space Seed, right, who get left alive at the end, right, which sets up the later events of Star Trek 2, as I mentioned, The Wrath of Khan, right? Khan! And then the Horta in The Devil in the Dark. We never get a full explanation of its biology, you know what I'm saying? But the episode leaves this strong moral message about the first contact and empathy, which is quite interesting and important. Right? So overall, season 1 is full of episodes where you have some surface mystery, and it is a test of character, really. Who will show mercy, who will cling to power, and who will trust the unknown, right? So that combination is why the season still feels foundational rather than just historical. Yeah. So those are my theories. What are your theories? Share your favorite theories, moments, whatever it is about Star Trek. We're here to get to the bottom of it. Why, after all of this season, these couple weeks, I have to say, right, that it was fun. It was really, really fun going through this. And if you have not listened to the other episodes, please go and listen to the previous episodes of Star Trek. Because I tell you, it was interesting just going through and deep diving, going down some of the rabbit holes. Them, they end up have a talk about some of the things they won't may expect. Say, boy, all right, we could have, touch the surface of it, and then you would probably watch it and go deeper. But some of these things I had to explain, because when I tell you, it was quite a deal. And yes, I can go lie down now and take a rest. Yeah, and may I forget up and do some stuff. And as we usually say on this podcast. And that's the wrap on this episode. We've crossed another milestone, and now the mission continues as we set our sights on 2,000 downloads. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to follow, like, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org. There was an entire universe of stories stretching back decades. It was a pleasant surprise. Bam, banana, banana. Banana na 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 dan da da bam banana da na na bam 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 bam. Captain's log. Stargate. Like, seriously, bro? Stargate? Are you actually thinking about Stargate right now? I can't deal. And he's like, Stardate. I keep saying Stardate. Scargate. Ugh. But, yeah. It is achieved through connection. Each listen signals